Hello there. Good evening. Tonight I'm going to talk about the change in global politics and diplomatic relations. When I say change, I mean they're going to be different, but as far as them being new and innovative and all that sort of stuff, absolutely not. One can only speculate at this point in time what a Biden administration will do. My presumption is Biden was helped into presidency by the Canadian government because Justin Trudeau did not like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump did not like Justin Trudeau. You know why? Because Donald Trump renegotiated the NAFTA deal. There were tariffs on Canadian goods, and other things that were going on. Um, and Biden, probably his campaign team, promised to alleviate some of those problems. Although, good luck to Biden by passing anything through the Senate, at very least in his first 2 years as president. Even if he lives that long, I mean, like, seriously, look at him. He looks like the Crypt Keeper, except he's still got a nose. And I'm sorry, that's insulting to the Crypt Keeper. But anyway, you have to weigh things out. And the diplomatic situation for every election always changes. That's why, although if I could have voted, I would have voted Republican this time around because I like where Donald Trump is coming from. Um, I wouldn't always vote Republican because sometimes you vote for the person you prefer. I preferred Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Joe Biden has many problems, and he is another man who can't stand being criticized. Uh, Barack Obama, the exact same way. I heard a yarn that Letterman lost his job because he made a joke about Barack Obama. And, now he lives mostly as a recluse. And people go, oh, well, he would have made fun of Donald Trump too. Yeah, who didn't make fun of Donald Trump? But evidently, you're going to lose your job if you make fun of Barack Obama, or at least someone like Letterman would. And the groundwork was already laid out for that when no one was allowed to talk about the appearance of the onset of Alzheimer's for Joe Biden. That may be an act, and actually, that's that could be all it is. Is that's his representation of the world. Remember, he is in the elite echelon of society. I know people like to think of America as a diseased, dirty backwater, but let's think about global politics for a second. What's going on in other parts of the world? And then can you honestly say the United States is on par with, oh, I don't know, New Guinea? Or how about Argentina? They must be doing all right, aren't they? What about Shanghai? That must not be a shithole, right? Oh, wait, it is. Uh, what about the Ganges River? It must be clean and perfectly adequate, isn't it? And the list goes on and on and on. Um, yeah, but let's get into what I was going to talk about, which is the difference in the diplomatic relations. A lot of people like to think of the Democrats as being progressive. Both parties are progressive because ideas change, better ones come around, deals change. Um, you know, the old guard get older and pass on, and all their problems sort of, well, they don't really go away, but they dilute over time. All the dead from World War One, their voices are not as loud as they used to be. We mustn't forget, and we're not going to, but the politics of World War One are very much diluted in today's modern day thinking. We're thinking of the next wars. You know, although fascinating, the First World War and Second World War are, the voices and the demands for retribution, revenge, and all that sort of stuff should be going along with them. And that includes the Korean War. There are still a number of Korean War survivors. Well, they called it a conflict at the time. And what Donald Trump did when he approached Kim Jong-un was remarkable. That was amazing. He really helped move the Korean Peninsula into the correct direction. At least the starting stones for doing that. Joe Biden is going to have a similar approach, most likely, I can't say for sure, as George Bush. That North Korea cannot be trusted. Place the sanctions that Donald Trump helped lift some of onto North Korea again, which will radicalize elements within the army that were being pacified under Kim Jong-un, because Kim Jong-un does not have the godlike image that his grandfather had, and, you know, the partial godlike image that his father had. Kim Jong-un really has to make a name for himself if he's to have respect for the military personnel. He was bestowed upon the next ruler of Korea. However, the military power within North Korea, some of their elements actually favor his sister more than him. And if Joe Biden, because a lot of his military senior advisors are people who are still bittered by the Korean War, will want to reimpose sanctions. The North Koreans did some despicable things, like not give back the fallen soldiers that they had in their territory back to the United States, and probably did all kinds of horrible things to them. You know, it's a despicable way of fighting, but that's sometimes what armies do on purpose. So yeah, that's kind of hard to forgive. But, you know, to move forward, sometimes you have to sort of at least put some things into the closet and not think about them, or else you're never going to have peace. And, you know, South Korea is an important place as far as the satellite countries the United States has under its control. So there's that hot pocket right there. You look at other countries and they'll more or less stay the same. They don't really benefit from a Biden administration, because let's face facts. A new administration isn't going to be handing out any more money than was already being handed out before, unless they want something from these particular countries. And the Japanese don't actually have much to offer. They're already tied in with the military-industrial complex, so there's no incentive to give them more than what they need. They don't actually like Americans. That's never going to change, because of, they'll use the reasons Nagasaki and Hiroshima, but the reality is it's because they feel as though that they're smarter and that they should be controlling the world, and they're just stumped that they didn't conquer North America before the white man did. And they feel they're more intelligent, and they are a lot more racist than white men are, surprisingly. You know, a lot of people go, oh, white people are the most racist people in the world. No, we're the most successful people in the world. We're mildly racist compared to other races who are less successful. It might be the other way around had things been played out different in history, but guess what? It is the way it is. North America is the best continent on Earth, and it is controlled by white people. So we don't have to be as bitter about, past conflicts. Okay, you take Taiwan, for example. They're getting big bucks and big military aid regardless of what administration is in power. It doesn't matter. So, they're probably not negative thinking towards Donald Trump. I've not heard otherwise. Perhaps if somebody had some reliable information and told me so, I might think that, but I don't know. Offhand, I think that they're doing just as well as they would have been doing before. You take Russia, for example. Donald Trump had a lot of sanctions put on Russia by the government body, which, Donald Trump may or may not have totally agreed with, but, they got passed anyway. But they gave him something that they really, really wanted. It was a sore spot for Russia. And the Americans let them take it back. And that was Crimea. That's something a Biden administration more than likely would not have done. I know Obama would have been resisting that, as well as every other president before him, for the longest time. And it was Donald Trump that got that moving, and it was the right thing to do. And again, the Cold War was not that long ago, and there's still a lot of bitter feelings between both countries. I feel as though the Russians can more or less be trusted now when it comes to big events like World War III, for example. We can kind of trust the Russians because of mutual assured destruction. And, it's just not worth it for Russia to try and conquer the world. And it's not really worth the world to try and conquer Russia. Donald Trump, best buddies with Vlad. Good move. Vlad's going to be the president for life. However, Vlad believes in smaller events and military leaders and political leaders and all that bad stuff that happened in the Cold War. And it goes on both sides. The Russians feel the same way towards the Americans because the Americans did bad things. The Americans feel that the Russians did bad things, and that still has not been diluted yet. So the problem is, Donald Trump, I don't know so much about the Republican Party in general on that decision, but it definitely smoothed things over with Russia. And the Biden administration is not going to do that. And how do they offset this power balance? Like, the Trump administration pissed off China, like you would not believe. It hit a hornet's nest with a stick. Right thing to do, but it pissed them the fuck off. They released the coronavirus on everybody. In retaliation. So to offset the balance of now they want to get back at Russia, they're going, well, now that Donald Trump's befriended one of their greatest leaders, it won't be so bad, so we can have a change up in presidency and it won't make a difference. We can go back to what we were doing before. I don't believe they'll get Crimea back, but they will be placing sanctions on Russia because they don't like their dealings with the Iranian government. I mean, nobody does. Why Russia particularly is allied with the Iranians, I do not exactly know. I'm sure there's someone out there that does, but it's not me. So Biden, from what I'm hearing, is getting all, let's smooth things over with the Chinese. And I gotta tell you, the Chinese Communist Party, I find them the most despicable military leadership on the entire planet. And that really, really says something because there are a lot of really despicable military styled political parties out there that do horrible things every single day. And to say that the Chinese Communist Party is the worst, that's really saying something. And what does Joe Biden want to do? There's already murmurs that he's gonna lift the tariffs that Donald Trump put on him. All the executive bills that Donald Trump put out that the Senate unanimously supported. He's going to try and at least water them down because he wants to turn things back to the way they were before Donald Trump became president, where we had an uneasy peace with, and peace is a strong word for it. It's not really the appropriate word either with China because they were doing all the things they were doing. They were stealing intellectual property. They were cyber hacking. They were developing their military. It's no secret that if they ever had the opportunity, they would invade North America. They have a standing army that's the largest in the world, consisting mostly of Han Chinese. The ethnicity is mostly them. India also has a large army, but it is more difficult for them to maneuver it around because of different military advisors having different opinions on certain things. The Chinese Communist Party is a singular thing. It's all about the party, and they try to make it as a singular entity as possible. And this makes them a more effective army. If you don't have disagreements, outright arguments, and belligerence within your army, then you're able to do so much more, so much quicker. That seriously makes them a problem. And, how to deal with this in the best manner is the mindset of the people who laid down, this decree that, Joe Biden gets to put the crown on and he gets to sit in the fancy seat in the middle of the room and be Mr. President, as if that makes him the most singular powerful person. It doesn't. Ex-presidents have a significant amount of power too, and they don't just go away afterwards. Their policies are too important. Like, did Barack Obama go away? Hell's bells, no, he didn't. Do you think Joe Biden would have won if he didn't have Barack Obama in his back pocket? Do you think Barack Obama's not going to go over there going, I'm just going over to a barbecue with Joe Biden, he's my old buddy, yeah, that's what's going on. I'm certainly not going to help him make decisions in the war room as if he was still president, except he's got his old man puppet up front doing the talking. And that's part of the reason why Barack Obama, helped Joe Biden become president, is because, in a sense, Barack Obama wanted to be president again. And he was a competent man. He was intelligent. He was able to get things done. Don't get me wrong, he was a cold-hearted, smoked a billion cigarettes, bitter man. And I don't care what anyone else thinks. That's the truth. And, he was a competent president, but to say he was a nice guy or, he did things right or all that sort of stuff, that's another topic altogether. And, with the change in presidents, obviously focuses are going to shift. And right now, the powers of the be have decided that Joe Biden's argument for becoming president is stronger than Donald Trump's. And some of the blunders during the Trump campaign in particular the coronavirus, which is being blamed on him, even though that doesn't make any sense because you're dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. They always have that virus, the next virus, sitting there in wait, looking for an excuse to use it. And you're dealing with them. You can't trust them to not release it, even if they're getting, presumably, what they want. The only thing stopping them from doing that is fear of retaliation. Donald Trump was that retaliation. And, they retaliated in turn with the coronavirus. But they were left squinting, or wincing, I should say, a lot more than the Americans were. However, the powers that be again believed that they made China wince enough, and now they're going to ease up on them. And maybe even butter them up, as horrid a thought as that is, because there are monetary reasons for it. Hong Kong was overrun by the Chinese Communist Party. And essentially, and I've said this before, that the Hong Kongers, the wealthy ones, were essentially middlemen for the slave factories in mainland China. So they were not good or nice or respectable people by any means of the imagination. I'm not afraid to say that either. I live in a province that has a high population of people from Hong Kong. And, it's not their fault that their province of mainland China was as corrupt and bent as it was. They're too far down the food chain, most of them, for it to even apply to them. So, if you're a Hong Kong nationalist and you get mad by what I say, then I guess you're high enough up the food chain that it is your fault, and fuck you. They were a hub of financial activity. We were getting a bunch of stuff for dirt cheap off of them. We just had to trade them resources we were stealing from other places, so that they could build things like iPhones, and which they'd turn around and whatever money they could, the maximum amount they could take from that product that somebody would buy and use it into the Chinese military, they did. And that's the same with all the Asian countries around. They pay tariffs, they pay taxes, they pay blackmail money to the Chinese mafia. So that includes places like the Philippines that don't have much to offer. It includes Indonesia, includes Thailand, Vietnam, all those places. Because the real big bully in the world is not Donald Trump. It is the Chinese Communist Party. And they go around bullying everyone. And they tried to bully the Russians. The Russians didn't put up with it. And you wouldn't expect them to either. They're trying to bully the United States. And, it remains to be seen how far Joe Biden will permit this. I'm praying he doesn't embarrass us in front of the world and just let China roll right over us along with Trudeau. A lot of people go, ooh, Orange Man bad. Look at him, he's goofy. Look at him, he's dumb looking. Yeah, but he didn't let the Chinese roll over him now, did he? He put tariffs on them that pissed them off. They were demanding more food product from North America, and he said, fuck you to them. Maybe you won't find a news article on that on the internet. The one controlled by the pussies, the so-called liberal media. And when I say liberal, they're domestically liberal. When it comes to diplomatic relations, they're the same as they always fucking were. Put sanctions on North Korea. Put sanctions on Russia. Put sanctions on Iran. Coddle up to the Chinese because they can give us more products. And they're not asking for much direct money for these products because they don't mind making their population into a bunch of slaves. Let's pretend that the white slave trade isn't a real thing. Because, of course, the Chinese Communist Party doesn't care about enslaving its own people, but they like to enslave other people too. They have a section of slaves that are African American. They have slaves that are Russian. They have slaves that are Americans. Who knows how many numbers there are there? They're doing this as an act of prestige. Look what they can do, and we can do nothing about it, or else it'll start World War III, or start the cogs moving for World War III. And, they tighten the grip on these poor wretches, and a less, what's the word, responsible mind might go, fuck you, I don't trust you right this second. We're starting World War III right now. And they wouldn't be entirely wrong, because it can either be now, 20 years, or 100 years. At some point, that dragon's going to come around these parts. And if you sit here and let it happen, then you deserve to be lynched as a political leader. And to trust such a government body? You must be out of your fucking mind. This world cannot be run by people who do not have the backbone to say no. It can't be done. There has to be someone. And you know what? I actually, in my opinion, think that old Joe Biden is the only reason he's president is because he's there to give reprieve to the world that the big bad Republican is gone. You wait, 4 years from now, Joe Biden runs again, he'll be 82. And he's already not looking particularly well. So most likely what will happen, although there's no way of knowing for sure, is that Kamala Harris will assume the presidential campaign race for the Democrats, and someone new, or not, well, new to us anyway, will run for the Republicans, and they may raise to power again. I mean, this is all speculation. Nobody knows what Biden's going to do, not even himself yet. And diplomatic relations are important, but it does seem as though the biggest one right now is relations with China, because they're the ones that release COVID onto the world. And it's it's a very tricky situation, because where Donald Trump's philosophies fall a little bit short is that suppose we wipe out China. I see it as a good guy deed to do. Seems like the honorable, respectable thing to do. However, we might miss a few of their undetectable nuclear submarines, and they could just swim right up here into North America and detonate with a kamikaze crew. It doesn't have to be terribly sophisticated. It just has to blow up and work. They're not hard to build. That's probably another thing that pisses the Japanese off so much, that their army, their proud army that was never going to surrender, was defeated by a bomb that 6 university students with different fields could build if they had the supplies to do it. I'm not sure exactly what positions they'd have to have, but six different university students could build a nuclear weapon if they had the supplies. And as I don't know how to build a nuclear weapon, and I have no university education, you don't have to worry about me building one. But you do have to worry about the Chinese going to other places who didn't know how to build one and teaching them how to build one. You have to worry about that, don't you? Yeah. I mean, Joe Biden's really going to want to ease up on tensions with the Chinese, but the Senate is not going to budge. And it's important to know that that is something that we have to stay the course. We have to continue with Donald Trump's legacy, whether we like it or not, because the fact of the matter is, a path has already been started and it cannot be stopped. And which direction this path goes, again, remains to be seen. But there are many places in the world who had very strong opinions on who the president was going to be. And that affects democracy. Democracy is not what people think it is. I mean, partially it has to do with the people that live in that country voting for the leader that they want. But in reality, that's more of what you call a... what's one of those things? More of a survey, really, of who they would prefer so they know how to lie to them after they picked who won. I mean, ideally, your vote would count for something, but, that would be suggesting we live in a world where there's peace. And Joe Biden, peace is not on the menu. It never is for any president who ever takes power. It's never for anyone who takes power. Regardless of what it's considered to be legal power within that country or not, quote unquote. Yeah, because that's kind of not how power works. First of all, when you take power, you try to destroy your enemies. I mean, Joe Biden, he did say that. He said that they wanted to unite the people and blah, blah, blah. And what are his underlings doing? Threatening people in former positions that their jobs would be gone. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of Republicans who deserve to be out of a political job. But there are a lot of Democrats that deserve to be out of a political job as well. So you can't go, well, you could if you're stupid. Go, well, I support the Democratic Party because such and such. Al Gore was running for it and he was a good guy and blah, blah, blah. You're missing the damn picture here. The political atmosphere changes with every election. New problems come about. Solutions to old problems come about. And it's all about what is currently happening. And had things played out different, had the Chinese just buckled like they should have done and not released the coronavirus, Donald Trump could still be president. But they didn't buckle down because they knew they had guys like Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, who would go, oh, don't worry, we'll solve your problems, or some of them anyway. We'll fuck you over and a lot of other things. But this particular problem that's a threat to your national security, which you deserve, we'll smooth things over once we get into power. And that's like telling a knife-wielding maniac that, don't worry, you're the good guy in all this. I'm the one who's at fault. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Just doesn't make any fucking sense. So, yeah, what are global politics going to look like? We'll see what countries and what names get mentioned in the following years. Pay close attention to them, because they could come back again in the future and help mold what the most powerful country in the world is supposed to look like. And, it's very, very difficult, complicated, twisted problem. And, you know, it takes more than one keen mind to really think things through. And I am not confident that there are enough keen minds in the Biden administration to get the job done. Maybe other people feel there are, but I don't. And I don't feel there ever has been in any presidency since the United States, first became a country, nor any leadership in any country ever in existence. I think it has always been filled with idiots, incompetence. And yeah, it's really easy to criticize, but it's very difficult to create. And we're going to see what Joe Biden's going to do. And, some of us are already, not liking him to begin with. So, yeah, if you don't think that you're not going to like Joe Biden, you wait. You'll learn to hate him. He's going to do things that are going to piss you off. And just keep your eyes open and see what happens. Anyway, talk to people later. Have a good one.